Mr. Shirley, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please tell the jury your name.
Joseph Adam Zieler.
Are you the defendant in this case?
Yes.
May I approach?
Approach.
Mr. Zieler, let me show you what's been previously identified as our Exhibit A. Can you tell me what that exhibit is?
That's a picture of me and my son who's clutching my back, and my cousin, one of two twins, Danny.
How old are you in that picture?
26.
What color hair do you have in the
No.
picture?
Hold on, let me think about that. How old I was, sorry. I guess I'll say 26. I have a problem with dates.
What color was your hair?
Same color I was born with, very, very dark brown.
Okay, have you always had that color hair?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you what's been previously identified as our Exhibit B. Do you recognize that exhibit? Is
Yes,
that a photograph?
yes,
You recognize the person in the photograph?
yes.
Who is that?
That's my older brother, Robert Joseph Zieler, who I was raised with, but I believe he's my half-brother. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. I'd like to have these admitted in evidence, please.
No objection.
Defense,
Publish it
defense
to the jury.
hold on. Defense A and B are admitted. You may publish.
Thank you. Rather than pass them, I'll just let you look. Do you have any other brothers?
Yes, I have a brother, Steve. He was 5 years older than me, but he died, I believe, about 2008.
And obviously you have a father.
Well, I really don't know who my father is because, of course, I was born with very dark brown hair, and my brothers were born with light sandy hair, and my mother kept that secret, I guess, for her own safety.
Okay. Back in 1990, when this event occurred, where did your brothers reside?
Well, both my brothers were here in December of '89
All right, stop. Where's here?
in Florida.
Okay, where in Florida?
Oh, Cape Coral.
Okay. Did they live in Cape Coral?
Yes, they were working on the Cape Coral Hospital as block mason and laborer.
Okay. And was your father, or the person that may be your father, was he living down here then?
Yes.
Where was he working?
I believe he wasn't working. He was living on a houseboat in Marina Town, but I believe he was retired from working.
From where?
Well, he didn't leave voluntarily. He was arrested in Cape Coral driving the Cape Coral squad car.
Was he a member of the Cape Coral Police Department?
Yes, sir. He was like the fourth member down from chief of police. He was the shift commander of the Cape Coral Police Department.
All right, let me ask you a couple of questions. Where were you born?
I was born in Little Company of Mary Hospital in Evergreen Park, Illinois.
How long did you live in Illinois?
I lived in Illinois until I was 16, and my parents, I call them my parents because I'm so used to calling that man my father, so I will slip up once in a while, but the man I believed was my father at that time forced me to move down here with him and my mother because my mother wanted me to finish high school.
Okay, so you and your mother and the person that may be your father moved to where down here?
We moved to Parkwood Estates, was our first residence, which is Central Fort Myers by Pagefield.
Okay. How long were you in Florida?
One second. Well, I've on and off, back and forth, so from Florida to Illinois, so, I mean, at least a half a dozen times.
Were you ever a resident of the state of Maryland?
Yes, I was.
All right, and back in 1990, were you registered as a driver in the state of Maryland?
Yes, I was.
Oh, has your hair ever been light?
No, never.
Do you know Jan Cornell?
No, I don't know Jan Cornell.
Do you know Lisa Story?
No,
Do you know Robin Cornell?
no.
There was another name that was mentioned during the questioning, Leanne Deller?
No, all them names I read in my discovery, and that's how I became aware of them names.
Okay. Have you saw photographs of the residence where this event occurred? You've been here during trial, haven't you, Mr. Zieler?
Well, yes, I've been here during trial, but when the Cape Coral police interrogated me, they didn't show me the owner of the apartment.
Okay. I'm asking you now, have you seen photographs that were admitted into evidence depicting the scene of the event?
Yes.
Have you ever been in there?
No.
Now, you made phone calls after you were initially arrested for the event that occurred with Ms. Knisely's son. You made phone calls to her, did you not?
Yes, he's my son with her.
So are you the birth father of that child?
Yes. When he was born, Bonnie was still married to her first husband, so they put his name on the birth certificate, but I agreed to sign the paper to have it removed.
Okay. So do you basically raise that child as your own?
Yes.
The letter that you wrote to Bonnie that was read in court, you were making reference to somebody who was living in the house and who needed to go on. Who are those references about?
That's our son together, Zachary.
Okay. At any point in time in the letter, were you making any admissions to having committed this offense?
Zachary's offense?
No.
No.
The offense for which you're charged in this courtroom.
No, not at all.
What were you referring to?
I was referring to my altercation with my 26-year-old drunken son.
You made reference to something that happened in 1990. What was that?
I was arrested in July of 1990 because it was my son's birthday. That's how I remember my oldest son, Joey's birthday, and I had a pistol on board my sailboat. He was visiting me, and when I went across the street to go do some laundry, I didn't feel comfortable leaving the pistol on the boat with him. I was trying to be responsible, and I took the gun with me across the street to do some laundry, and while I was there, I stopped in a jewelry store to try to sell a couple items so I could buy him a birthday present.
Okay. And were you ultimately held responsible for that?
Well, yeah. While I was there.
Well, without getting into all the events, is that part of your prior felony conviction?
Oh, yes.
All right. Back in May of 1990, were there any warrants out for you?
Yes, there was a warrant out for me in St. Mary County, Maryland, issued 5/29/90. That was the day that I left because they came to my work trying to find me, and my boss covered for me. I jumped on my motorcycle and I headed here.
All right. Was there a warrant for you out of Chicago issued in 1987?
Yes.
Did you make reference in either the phone calls or the letter to those warrants?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about the stuff we talked about before.
Were you ever stopped in the state of Florida?
Yes, probably 4 or 5 times altogether, but only twice with Bonnie, with me.
Now, she recited that the time that you were stopped was much later on in your relationship. Do you recall when the first time you were stopped for the Chicago warrant?
The first time we were together, when we were stopped together, was at leaving Heavenly Pizza in North Fort Myers. We were driving her Jeep, and the police pulled us over, and they put me in the back of the squad car and held me for close to an hour and a half.
Did they release you?
Yes, but they told me at any time that the warrant was still active.
Sustained.
Excuse me?
What the police said.
Sustained. Move on.
But you were aware that that warrant is still active?
Yes.
Where were you? Well, let me ask a different question. You heard the last state's witness testify with regard to some comments that you made while you were in the custody of the Cape Coral Police Department. Did you hear those?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry, yes.
All right, one of those comments was something about the death penalty. Why did you talk to the officer about the death penalty?
Well, I was being facetious because I knew that they arrested the wrong person.
Where were you on May 9th and 10th of 1990?
I was in Maryland.
And Mr. Zieler, you've heard experts testify in this case that they are convinced that at least one, if not all 3, of the sites of semen or of other bodily fluid that were placed on the bed sheet, the pillow, and or the exterior of the young lady's genitalia was your semen. Is that possible?
No, it's not.
Judge, at this time, I have no further questions. Mr. Zieler may want to address the jury.
Well, there are no questions pending.
Well, I've reached that point based upon my discussion with the court.
I don't believe there's any rule that would allow Mr. Zieler to just give a narrative without a question being proffered. If you've reached the end of your questions, I understand. He'll now be subject to cross.
Can we approach?
Approach.
Okay, right before this started, the defense attorney articulated to the court there's a position, or there's time in my questioning I can't go forward because of ethical concerns. Michael Jafer, Jack Rice with us. Michael, what do you think it is?
It could only be one thing. That defense attorney was in a difficult spot, and he knew that his client was going to perjure himself. And people don't know this. For lawyers, we're not allowed to lie in court. Not only are we not allowed to lie in court, we're not allowed to allow our clients to lie in court. And if we know that our clients are lying in court and perjuring themselves, we have to do, I can only say this. We have to kind of like embarrass our clients to the court and say, hey, to correct the testimony, it's not correct. I know it's not correct. Otherwise, that attorney will lose his license and his career is over. So it could only mean that. He must have known his client was going to perjure himself. My old mentor used to say, as an attorney, you have to hold your breath every single time that your client opens his mouth to talk. And that lawyer looked like he had a weight on his shoulders. And for them approaching the bench right now, I could only assume it's because the attorney is going to warn the judge, look, if he perjures himself on cross, what am I going to do? Am I going to stand up and object and say he's lying? So this is a very, very, very tricky situation.
Jack, I may have to cut you off, but your thoughts?
Yeah, this is the challenge. We're talking about his obligation to his client on the one side. He has to do that. He has to continue to do that. The conflict can happen when there's actually a candor to the court requirement as well, and there always is for attorneys. They have to be able to tell the truth, and they also have to make sure they're not perpetuating a fraud or a lie that comes from their client. And so you're struggling because they actually can be in conflict. And the struggle right now is, how does this man speak to a jury if there aren't any questions asked? And the judge was trying to drive this and say it's going to go to cross, which means he then couldn't actually say to the jury what he wants to say. What makes this interesting in my head is I thought to myself, what would happen if this defendant right now, if Mr. Zieler right now fired his lawyer? If he fired his lawyer and he said, I want to go pro se, represent myself, can he then take the stand and speak for himself? I think that may be the only way he's going to be able to do this thing, because again, if he's going to lie, his lawyer can't do it. And if he doesn't have a lawyer, it may be the only way that this guy can actually do that.